Thank you, Christian. The next talk is by Melissa Martin, and it's on NASA Commercial SmallSat Data Acquisition Program Update.
Let's see. Hello, everyone. So I can't see anyone. Can y'all see this? I just want to confirm.
Yes, we can see it.
Great.
And we can
Awesome.
hear you.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to give an update to the Commercial SmallSat Data Acquisition Program at NASA. My name is Melissa Martin. I am the CSDA Program Manager and based out of NASA headquarters. The project is managed by Dana Stringer, and she's based at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. The CSDA program mission is to identify, evaluate, and acquire commercial satellite data that supports NASA Earth science research and application goals. Our program goals are to establish a continuous and repeatable process to on-ramp new commercial data vendors, enable sustained use of purchased data for broader use and dissemination by NASA's scientific community, ensure long-term data preservation, access, and distribution, coordinate with other U.S. government agencies and international partners on the evaluation and scientific use of commercial data, and of course, compliance with the 2003 U.S. commercial remote sensing policy. I just wanted to give a brief example. So as part of the program, we do procure GNSS-R data, and most recently we signed a one-year contract with Spire to procure RO data. But this is an example of work that was done by Jade Morton and her team. And what they have demonstrated here is the use of CSDA grazing angle data from Spire's GNSS RO satellites to measure elevation and surface roughness of land surface ice. This image shows results of this research in Antarctica. And high density, so what it really shows is the high density of measurements are complementary to measurements from other centers. And I think Jade's there, but I'm sure she can speak more to this than I can. So recent changes to our program. The CSDA program was sitting under Earth Data at NASA. We've now moved it under Earth Action. We have new leadership. So both myself and Dana started in January of this year. All our business is now on-ramped under the IDIQ process, which is the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity process. This means that any vendor under this process will be responsive to competitive task orders. We just completed our first on-ramp where we announced new awards to 8 new vendors. And this was announced on September 6th. And I will show you that in the next slide, the new vendors. We have a new EULA structure, which is there are 3 tiers to it: public release, U.S. federal government, plus, and U.S. federal government. This allows us to share across the government. CSDA acquired data is now discoverable through Earth Data Search. So this is just another way that you can pull up our data. And we currently have 2 vendors in evaluation phase 1, which you're very familiar with, is Planet IQ, and the other is Umbra, which is SAR data. So as I mentioned, we just completed our IDIQ on-ramp award 1. This was announced on September 6th. So the new 8 vendors are listed here. And you might recognize a couple that were previously on BPA and on contract with us, and now they're on the IDIQ contract, which is why they're listed as a new vendor. So the peer performance is through November 15th of 2028. And I'm going through these pretty quickly, so if there are any questions, please stop me. So just a program timeline. This is an overview of our program. It started as a pilot program in 2017. In 2017, because it was so successful, NASA then determined that they were going to sustain it and transition it to a sustained program in 2020. In 2022, we released our first analysis, our ROSA solicitation. In 2023, we then moved over from BPA to IDIQ. So anyone that was on, any vendor that was on the BPA had an opportunity and continues to have the opportunities through the on-ramp process to join the IDIQ, which is the only contract mechanism that we're using to move forward with all of our procurement. In 2024, I mentioned we just completed our on-ramp 1, and we have 2 vendors currently in evaluation. Okay. David, I realized in the previous talk, the speaker was speaking about data evaluation. So we've actually created the evaluation guidelines with ESA, and we're doing this for all the different data types that we are that we have within our holdings at CSDA. So the evaluation criteria is accessibility of vendor supplied imagery and data, accuracy and completeness of metadata, quality of user support services, usefulness of data for advancing Earth system science research and applications, and the quality of vendor supplied imagery and/or data. We're also working very closely with other agencies now to try and leverage some of the evaluations that they have done. So specifically, we've been working with NRO and NGA, well, NGA in particular, that has done some previous data quality evaluations, and then we take that and we build upon it at NASA in order to meet the science and application needs. As I mentioned earlier, we have 3 tiers of ULAs. Everything at a minimum now within CSDA is purchased at the US G level, which is everything in the green box. Ideally, we would love to purchase everything at a public release level. Unfortunately, like everyone else, this is all we only can do whatever we can within budgetary constraints. So I did want to mention these are kind of big changes that we're making to the program. We're instituting a new evaluation process. And so for the new vendors that have been onboarded, so if a vendor came from BPA to IDIQ, they do not need to go through the evaluation of their data again unless new data products are proposed. However, new vendors who are new to CSDA will need to go through an evaluation process. The previous evaluation process typically took between 18 to 24 months. And so what we're really trying to do now is improve the efficiency of the program. So our data quality component of the evaluation process will be done in-house by the SMEs, and we're decoupling the utility evaluation of the process. And this will be now a more focused science call that will be released in ROSES 48. So the community will be able to respond to an analysis call that not only looks at the utility of the data, but they're able to look at everything that we have within our current data holdings and explore future tasking options. So this is a big departure from how our previous evaluation process. So essentially, a vendor will be able to respond to our task orders after a 6-month period from the time of award. Expansion of NASA commercial data. So we're looking at different options to support operational use of CSDA data. So I want to be very clear, we're not an operational agency. Our priorities are still aligned to NASA science research and applications. However, if there is an operational agency who can take advantage of the data that we have within our data holdings, they will be able to hopefully within the next calendar year. So that is a departure from what we had previously, where all the data use was really restricted to only science research and applications. And finally, we're working on improving our communication strategy. We have a new webinar series that we started. We have website updates. Oh, I meant to hide this. Which include vendor highlights. And we're also developing tools where folks can go onto the website and they'll be able to use be able to take the commercial data and use it for different types of applications. Okay, so scope of our program and vendor status. So all the different colors here correspond to a different data type. And just to give you an idea, so the new vendors are not currently on this chart. This will be updated shortly. But as mentioned, Planet IQ and Umbra are going through the evaluation phase. So I will mention that they are going through the existing evaluation process as part of the program prior to Dana and myself joining. And this is because they've been grandfathered into that process. Data evaluation is now complete with Black Sky, ISI, Capella, GHG, and Geoptics. Their final reports are pending and should be available by the end of the calendar year on our website. If you would like a copy of the final report, please also reach out to me and I might be able to get you a copy of as soon as it passes through our internal processes. The data is available from DESIS EarthDem, and then data purchased for community use under the various EULAs for Planet Spire, Maxar, and Airbus. This is a lot. This is just an overview of our data holdings, just to give you an idea where we are. This has been updated and is currently on our website. So take a look on our website for the different data holdings that we have. Access to our data holdings. So you can go into SDX, which is the SmallSat Data Explorer. It's a web application to search, discover, and download NASA acquired commercial data. If you have any commercial data interests that are not part of currently our commercial data holdings, I recommend that you please reach out to me and so we can have that discussion. Data access and use. All commercial data access for NASA should occur through the NASA CSDA program. So this is anyone who's NASA funded or is a NASA contractor or NASA civil servant. If they're looking for NASA data, they should be coming through our program. So we're kind of the belly button for all commercial data at NASA. Access is through NASA SDIS. Here's the link. And then you have to go through an approval process in order to obtain data as it corresponds to our current EULA status, which I mentioned was USG. And here's just an overview of the limits on data use. As you see, licensing is for science use only. However, as we're hoping that by the beginning of the calendar year of 25, that will not be the case anymore. This is just an overview of the data usage by disciplines. And so you can see that land processes, hydrologic cycle, human dimensions of global change are the top users of our commercial data at present. So there's tremendous value in commercial data to augment the NASA US satellite fleet. Scientific evaluation process is unique to NASA and critical to our procurement. So all the data that we have within our data holdings has gone through an extensive evaluation process. NASA is working with other agencies on licensing agreements to maximize data use within budgetary constraints. And I noticed on the agenda that Natalie is speaking right after me. So that's one of our big changes moving forward, beginning in 2025. We're really hoping to have coordinated purchase of RO data with NOAA. And so the goal here is to come in with NOAA on a combined purchase beginning in 25. And I'm not sure if Natalie wants to speak more to that, but we're in the preliminary phases, but I'm really excited about that interagency effort that we have going on. And we have opportunities at NASA to support the scientific research and application use of commercial data. So I have a ton of links in here, but I will end with a QR code because in case y'all don't get these slides. But if you need more information about CSDA, please go to the website, reach out to me. I'm Melissa Martin at NASA as a CSDA program manager. Okay, and I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa. That was a nice talk. It looks like you guys have been very busy at NASA. I mean, are you, it must mean you're generally happy with the data purchases so far. Is that true?
You were talking about as a whole, all of the different, we are really working hard to expand our program to meet all of the site. We get a ton of requests from science research and applications. And so going through the IDIQ process, we do want to make sure that we have a good range of vendors that are able to respond to our different science needs. And so we will continue to expand our program accordingly.
That's great. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Yeah, we have one coming.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Eric Weaver from the National Science Foundation. Just, the issue of having licenses that allow people in academia to use the data, it's kind of important since that's where most of the research is done. But I can see some devils in the details there. If I have a US government grant to conduct research and I'm allowed to use the data, what happens if I have a collaborator at the RAMSAT, for instance, in Austria? And you're only really sharing with American academics. So I could see how things like that might come up. Or I have an award and it's a 3-year grant. And then, what happens to my data access after the period of performance is over? Do I then not have that access? Or if I graduate a student and the student goes off to take a job and wants to follow up on their PhD thesis, which was written using the commercial data, but they're no longer part of the award, would they continue to have access? And then I guess the other thing is that when you publish papers based on the research, then the open standards of publication are that the data has to be accessible that was used to produce the results. So again, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of kind of question marks that could come up when you're talking about these kinds of licenses.
Yeah, every single thing that you've mentioned, we have come across. And unfortunately, we are tied to the uses under the current licensing agreements. We are working at looking at ways where we can uplift licenses. But it really, in order for me to do that, one, I need the funds to do that. And two, I really need input from the community. I've had there's been a New Zealand initiative where I have a collaborator in New Zealand who's unable to access the data. So her JPL counterpart is the only one who can access the data, but cannot share it with her unless they create a derived product. So, and then having graduate students use the data, that's also been another issue. So everything you've mentioned, we are trying to deal with, and are currently under our current licenses. I don't have a good answer until we figure out a way to uplift the licenses. Our hands are tied. I will say there are a couple of vendors who are coming in who are only delivering products to us at one license level, which is at public release. And a good example is Umbra, and they have SAR data. And so all of that data will be available. Another way we're trying to mitigate this is working with NOAA. And so instead of us purchasing the RO data, NOAA will be sending our funds over to NOAA for a combined purchase. So research will have access to use under the NOAA licensing agreement because that is at public release. So we are exploring different ways of getting around this and what makes the most sense within our budgetary constraints.
Do we have any other questions? I don't see any. Thanks a lot, Melissa.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
All right, we'll move on to the next talk. And this is by Natalie Lodier, NOAA NESDIS Commercial Data Program.